Hello and welcome to another demonstration. If you're in the Facebook premiere, I'll be in the chat so I can answer any questions or just say hi. Sometimes it really is worth getting back to basics. So I'm going to be creating a colour wheel. Now, I know it's one of the first things we do as a child. We learn the colours, red, yellow, make orange. But actually it's really useful exercise to learn about the materials you're using and to learn about colours, especially as a beginner. But even as someone who uses colour all the time, I actually found it very interesting to create this colour wheel. So it started mainly because a customer asked a question. They asked, what are the primary colours in a lot of different brands? And you would think that was quite an easy thing to say, because primary colours are colours, red, yellow, blue, that can't be mixed from other colours. But actually, it's not always that easy to identify which colours the manufacturer calls their primary colours. They may call them primary cyan, primary magenta, primary yellow. That makes it easy, but not necessarily. And I was actually interested in what the suppliers came back to me with. And most of them, in fact, all of them actually came back with this range of colours. So it's a magenta, a bright yellow, and a phthalo blue, or something in that range. All single pigments. That's important when you are colour mixing, to have a single pigment, because if you've got more than one pigment in a colour and you add it to another colour with more than one pigment, you get a muddy colour. So primary colours, colours you can't mix from any other colours, and for good clean mixing are single pigments. So that's where we're going to start. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm using Bockenford because it's a paper I'm familiar with. I'm also using a imitation sable. So going to start with the magenta or the red. And not only am I going to learn about the colours and how they mix, but I'm using watercolour. So I'm going to learn about how to apply it to the paper, how it works with the paper, how the brush works, how much water to use or not to use. There's so many things I'm going to learn, as well as colour mixing, by creating this really back to basic exercise. So that's the magenta. Clean my brush between putting colour on, and it is important to do that to get clean colours. So now for the yellow in here. Now normally I would start with the light colour first, but as I've set my palette up like that, I'm going to go round. It just helps me remember where I'm going next. So also I'm learning about the strength of these colours. That yellow was quite rich and this blue is really strong, and I need only a little. I can also see whether it's granulating colour or not, whether it's transparent or semi-transparent. All these things from just creating this colour wheel. I'm learning how to hold my brush, what brush works better for you to create these flat washes. There you go. First primary colour in the colour wheel. Next one is going to be secondary colours. So that takes a bit of the yellow, which is a primary colour. Just make sure I mix plenty. And the red. And it should be, for this secondary colour, it's usually a good mix of about half and half. It does depend on the strength of the colour, but I'm looking for a mid-orange. Go. So here, adding that mid-orange. I find it quite therapeutic, to be honest. It's quite nice to mix colours. And often these three colours are colours I will use for pretty much any painting, because you can mix almost every other colour from these three colours. So I tend to stick to a limited palette. Sometimes I will add a little bit more interest through its characteristics, whether it granulates or I want an interesting colour which I can mix, but it's really nice to be able to use straight from the tube. What it's nice to do is to learn from the colours you've got how you can mix. So next mix is going to be yellow and blue. That's a lovely green, look at that. And that will give me, make sure I put it in the right area, a lovely green. So because I'm using a bright yellow, I know I'm going to get quite a bright green. And the same with the purple, because it's a bright magenta, I'm going to get a bright purple. So this is why these colours are often deemed the primary colours for bright mixing. Clean my brush. Okay, so why did I put that green over there? I don't know. Let's pick up some of the red. And notice I'm mixing plenty of colours, because this is how you make your tertiary colours. And for once I'm remembering to clean between applications of paint, which I'm quite bad at. But this ensures you get a good, clean colour mix. So, purple, look at that. Lovely bright purple. And as I'm going round, it's allowing the different areas to dry. So I'm getting nice clean edges. Now for tertiary colours, which mixes a secondary and a primary. So for this one, I'll drop a bit of my secondary colour and pick up a bit of the primary colour, because I'm looking for a nice red orange. Now, each one will be slightly different, because a bit more red will change it to an even deeper orange. Little less will make it, still don't think that's actually strong enough, so that's better, much stronger. But these are only 12 colours. You can make an infinite amount of different ranges and hues. Okay. So next tertiary colour will be the initial secondary and primary, yes, which makes a lovely yellow orange. Okay. So 3 oranges. You can see now how it's starting to build up your colours, and it's still just using those 3 primary colours. So that green don't know why I put it on this side. So put some of that green and yellow. Makes a lovely lime green. Look at that. It's almost luminescent because of the brightness of that yellow. I'm also learning how far the colour moves, how far it goes, how far I can paint with what I've got on my brush. So, using some of that green, pick up a bit of blue, maybe a bit more. And we get a lovely dark green. Okay. That's just for my own benefit. Right, so now same principle, but I've run out of wells, which is pain. So using that purple, I'm going to add a bit more blue because closer to the blue on this side. And what it does, it makes an amazing dark indigo blue look. This is the one that actually thrills me the most. Is this really dark blue you can get from that colour there, which is, these are cool colours, and I will explain that in a minute once I've put these on the page. I'll talk a little bit more about what you can see from a colour wheel. So that purple in there, I'm going to add a little bit more red. Don't know if that's enough. So a bit of the blue, which is very strong. What I'm heading towards, that's the colour I'm heading towards, is a colour which is in between there, which is that colour. There we go. So, isn't that beautiful? I know, like I say, I work with colour all the time, but this, creating one of these still thrills me. So, what have I learnt from creating a colour wheel? I've learnt that these colours are primary colours. And they are single pigment colours which cannot be mixed from any other colours. I've also learnt that they create secondary colours. And they are mixed from one each, pretty much a 50-50 mix of each of the primary colours. And I've also created tertiary colours. Which are mixed from a primary and a secondary. There we go. What else can I see from a colour wheel? There's quite a number of things. Firstly, you hear about complementary colours. And from this 12 area colour wheel, you can see complementary colours. Complementary colours are colours which are opposite each other in this colour wheel. And what they do is if they're used in conjunction with each other or next to each other, they each make each of these colours much brighter. So you will often find a bit of a complementary colour somewhere in a painting. So here you've got complementary for the magenta is the green. And you can go round. I'm just going to start with the primary, so that's the primary actually. So this one is that orange. So the primary complementary is the secondary colour of the others. Yellow into that purple. And all of these things help with when you're painting and you want something to stand out and be a bit brighter. So say you're painting a flower with a really lovely yellow middle and you want it to stand out and be bright. Use a purpley colour in the background and those colours will make each other pop. So you can also see analogous colours, which are colours which complement each other. You will often only use 3 because it gets overpowering. So these are colours which are next to each other on the colour wheel. So there's a group of 3. You can go across each other. There's another group of 3. So all these colours you can see they're in their own colour harmony. And again, they're nice to use when you're building up. So you can imagine this yellow, and then you add that bit of orange, and you add this darker bit of orange as you build up layers, and you start to build up colour. And they don't overpower each other, so they're nice to use together. From this colour wheel, you can see your warm and cool colours. Now, in painting, warm and cool colours do mean 2 different things. For this demonstration, and I will go on to another one in a minute, the warm and cool colours are colours which have a bias towards the red and the yellow. Warm colours, you think of fire, you think of colours like that. Or other colours which have a bias towards the blue and the green, they're cold colours. And you can split this down the middle here. So on this side, we've got warm colours. And on this side, it's cool colours. You can see here, everything is closer to the blue, and on here, everything is closer to the orangey reds. So why would you need to know that? It's useful when you're painting just to be aware that cool colours recede and warm colours help things in the foreground to move forward. So if you're painting a mountain range, you use that cool purple and cool blues, and it helps to push them back. It's an aerial perspective and how you view things. And as you're painting, these colours get warmer as you come forward. So here, you think warmer colours. And they can be browns, and they can be, but as long as they've got an orange brown, and as it comes forward, it just helps a painting have some depth. From these colours, I'm just going to do a bit of colour mixing. You can mix greys. And how do you mix a grey? You have a bit of red, some yellow, and blue. Now, to be honest, it will take a bit of mixing. You have to manipulate the colour until you get it right. That's still a bit too blue. I'm just going to test it. Yes, still a bit too much blue in there. So I'm going to just a little bit of red. And that was a tiny bit of red. It's making a nice colour. That's making a nice brown. So I'm going to just put a little bit of yellow in. And it takes a touch, it really does. And this may make that, look at that. And I really did just dip my brush into the yellow, I really touch. So let's see. When I'm making a grey, I often use the red and the blue first. It gives me a nice secondary purple. And that I use as my starting colour for the greys. Oh, I think that's it. So here you go. Look at that. That's a lovely grey. And it's just so much fun then to see by adding a little touch more red. Let's try a little touch more yellow. Bit of orange. Pick up some of the colours on there. See, that's a lovely warm brown there. Let's see what I can pick up on here. Oh, that's a lovely colour. Look at this. It's almost a Prussian blue there. And this is why I don't clean my palette very often. It's amazing what you can pick up. Got that lovely green as well. And that's just picking up colour from, let's put a bit more yellow in there. It's going to make an orange. And you can vary these by adding a little touch. You make notes. What I main note is what I'm going to do is put the colours I've used down here. So in this case, it's 664 yellow, and it's Dale Rowning, artist. For this one, it's 140 Dale THAT blue, and 414 Quinn. And that's just making notes. That's all this is. I can now store that away and bring it out when I want it. So, basic colour wheel with colours which the supplier has said are their primary colours. Now, I'm just going to do a second colour wheel because these colours, these primaries, are actually also known as cool colours. Now, I know we talked about warm and cool colours here, and that's fairly obvious, but you can also get a cool red and a cool blue, a cool yellow. But you can also get a warm red, a warm blue, and a warm yellow. So there's a cool colour wheel, and I'm going to create a warm colour wheel just so I can show you the differences. Okay, so I've had a chance to do the other colour wheel I was talking about, which with colours I consider warm colours. So we have a warm red, a warm yellow, and a warm blue. And you can see the different mixes you get by using a different red. So this warm red, much more orangey, and you can see how very different the mixes are. With the greens, they're less bright because of the different blues and the different yellows mixed. So this is why often in a range of colours you will hear someone say they've got a cool red, which may be the magenta, and a warm red in their palette next to each other. They've got a cool yellow and a warm yellow next to their palette to give you greater colour mixing options. But as you can see, how many colours you can mix from just three colours, three primary colours. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was a really back to basic exercise, but I think you learned quite a lot about not only the colours, but the paints and how to mix them and how to apply them to your paper. So I hope you enjoyed that and join me again soon for another demonstration.